A 4-year-old girl is happily drawing chalk hearts on her family's driveway. Her mother steps inside for a moment. 20 minutes later, she's gone. No screams, no struggle, just empty sidewalk and a heart half-finished in pink. For 2 years, there were no answers, no sightings, no body, no proof of anything. Until a routine plumbing repair at a public restroom in the woods unclogged more than a toilet. It revealed a twisted clue that cracked open the truth and left a grieving family both shattered and vindicated. Welcome to Echo Stories. Subscribe and hit the bell icon for more stories. Part 1, The Chalk and the Vanish. May 14, 2015, Portland, Oregon. It was supposed to be an ordinary afternoon. Amanda Hart, just 4 years old, was outside her home, crouched on the driveway with a pink chalk in hand, drawing loops and stars. Her mother, Sabrina, was inside wrapping up a work call. She kept the front blinds open. Amanda was just steps away. By the time Amanda's father, Rodney, arrived home minutes later, she was gone. At first, they assumed she'd wandered into the backyard. Then they called her name. Then they screamed it. The neighborhood search began within 15 minutes. Within the hour, police had issued a local alert. Helicopters and K-9 units were deployed before sunset. They found the chalk, the drawings, a faint footprint near the curb. Nothing else. No signs of a struggle. No ransom note. Just silence. The Hart family was shattered. Amanda's room was preserved exactly as she left it. The neighborhood turned into a grid for volunteers. Her face-smiling gap tooth was plastered on every telephone pole in the city. For months, every lead led nowhere, until even hope began to feel cruel. And as year 1 passed into year 2, the case fell cold. But not to Detective Elias Corbin. And not to a man named Dave McCann, who just wanted to fix a broken toilet. Part 2, The Restroom in the Woods. It was a chilly spring morning, exactly 2 years and 2 weeks since Amanda Hart vanished. Dave McCann, a maintenance worker with the Oregon Parks Department, was responding to a work order at a public trailhead restroom near Mount Hood National Forest. A toilet had backed up badly. Locals had reported the foul smell for days. Dave thought it was just another clogged pipe. But when he opened the access hatch and reached into the trap using protective gloves, he pulled out something that didn't belong. Wrapped tightly in a plastic grocery bag was a small bundle of children's clothing stuffed down into the pipe so deliberately it had clogged the entire system. He didn't think much of it at first, until he unwrapped the bundle. Inside, a faded pink long-sleeve shirt, a pair of small blue shorts, and girls' underwear. All soaked, all weathered, but unmistakably child-sized. One sleeve on the shirt had been hand-stitched with white thread, a crude repair job. Dave froze. It wasn't just a clog, it was evidence. Police were called immediately. Detective Elias Corbin, who had quietly stayed connected to Amanda's cold case, recognized the shirt on sight. He remembered the mother, Sabrina, telling him how she had sewn up the wrist seam with white thread herself. Now they had something. After 2 years of silence, this was the first physical clue tied to Amanda since the day she disappeared. And it had been deliberately hidden. Forensics confirmed it. The DNA on the clothing matched Amanda. But even more disturbing, a mold analysis on the fibers suggested the clothes had only been in that pipe for around 12 months, which meant someone came back. A full year after Amanda disappeared, someone returned to that bathroom and stuffed her clothes into the waste system. But why? And more importantly, who? Part 3, A Name Resurfaces. Detective Elias Corbin reopened Amanda's file in full. And this time he focused on a name that had never quite sat right. Frank Miller. He'd lived just 3 blocks from the Hart family at the time of Amanda's disappearance. 56 years old, retired woodworker, lived alone, kept to himself. During the original investigation, Frank had been questioned like all neighbors, but offered little insight. He said he hadn't seen anything unusual. His only red flag, a prior misdemeanor arrest from 1994 for trespassing on a school property at night. Nothing prosecutable, nothing solid, so he was never pursued further. But now, with a clue found 80 miles away from Amanda's home planted deep in the woods near Mount Hood, and a man like Frank Miller with access to a remote family-owned cabin in that very region, Corbin dug deeper. County records showed that Frank's late parents had deeded him a rundown off-grid hunting cabin located just 2.3 miles from the very restroom where Amanda's clothing had been found. Nobody had checked it in the original search. It was outside the main radius. No one thought the abductor would return to the wilderness with a child that young. But Corbin got a warrant, and what he found inside the cabin made his blood run cold. Dusty, neglected, but not untouched. There was a rusted folding cot, zip ties, and a plastic drawer. An old radio with batteries removed, and beneath a loose floorboard in the corner, a small pink cat-shaped hair clip. Sabrina Hart identified it instantly. Amanda had worn it the day she disappeared. Now there was no doubt. Amanda had been in that cabin. Part 4, the confession. Detective Corbin brought Frank Miller in for questioning. He was quiet at first, polite, too calm. He denied owning the cabin. Then Corbin placed the county deed on the table. He denied ever visiting it. Then Corbin laid down the photo of Amanda's cat-shaped hair clip pulled from beneath the cabin floorboards. Frank blinked. That was the moment everything began to crack. It took 7 hours. No yelling, no threats, just patience. And finally, Frank sighed and began to talk. He admitted he'd watched Amanda for weeks, said she was always outside alone. I didn't plan it, he muttered. I just saw the moment. On May 14th, he'd parked down the block, waited for Sabrina to go inside and walked straight into the Hart driveway. Amanda didn't scream. He said he told her her mom had asked him to walk her to the corner, and she believed him. He drove her to the cabin that same day, held her there for 2 nights. He wouldn't say exactly what he did, but when Amanda tried to run on the 3rd morning, he panicked. He claimed he didn't mean to hurt her, but the autopsy would later reveal otherwise. Frank buried her beneath a ring of trees behind the cabin. 1 year later, fearing hikers might stumble on something, he returned, dug up her clothing, and dumped it into the nearest public restroom, believing it would never be found. He was wrong. He was charged with kidnapping, sexual assault, and first-degree murder. His trial lasted 3 weeks. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty. Frank Miller will spend the rest of his life in prison. But for Amanda's parents, justice didn't feel like peace. Not yet. Not without bringing her home. Part 5, the return home. With Frank Miller convicted, the search for Amanda's final resting place began. He agreed under escort to lead investigators to the burial site behind the Mount Hood cabin. It wasn't deep, just beneath a shallow ring of pine trees. Wrapped in a weatherproof tarp, her small remains were carefully recovered by forensic teams. Sabrina and Rodney Hart were there waiting at the perimeter, holding each other. Sabrina collapsed when the coroner confirmed it. It was her, she whispered. All along she was right here, alone. Amanda was brought home. Her funeral, held nearly 3 years after her disappearance, was open to the public. Hundreds came, neighbors, officers, complete strangers who had shared the search. There were pink balloons, chalk drawings lined the sidewalk outside the church. One said, "We never stopped looking." Amanda was buried in a small cemetery beneath a tree with a swing. And in her honor, the Hart family established the Amanda Project, a nonprofit supporting rapid response for missing children, including trailhead searches, bathroom surveillance programs, and public outreach. Detective Elias Corbin received a commendation from the mayor, but he didn't celebrate. He kept a photo of Amanda taken the day before she vanished on his desk. "I see her every morning," he said. "She reminds me why I keep going." This story is not just about a terrible crime. It's about a clue no one expected found in a place no one thought to look. And about a family who refused to stop searching. Subscribe to Echo Stories for true crime stories that go deeper into the people, the pain, and the truth that finally rises. Because justice never flushes away.